Hello everyone, and welcome to What's the Crack.
Good lad,
I'm your
what's the crack with yourself?
I wasn't saying what's the crack, drunk Ducky. I'm recording a podcast.
Oh, sorry, Mr. Z-list internet celebrity. Did I interrupt the creative flow of you talking out your arse?
You'd want to change that tone if you want me to keep paying your bills, buddy.
I'm only having a laugh, lighten up.
What are you doing waking up at this hour anyway?
Waking up? Lad, I haven't slept.
Why am I not surprised?
Anyway, I'll leave you back to your audio diary, princess. I have to text someone about going to a wedding next weekend.
Hey, not happening. I'm not going to any more weddings. I fucking hate weddings.
Yeah, well I don't, so suck it.
I fucking hate that guy. Anyway, before I was rudely interrupted, my name is Ducky, and I hope you're all doing well today. I hope you all didn't miss me too much. Been gone for a few weeks from podcasting. Hold on, my mic is a bit out of my way. There we go. Yeah, nice, get up on top of it, sound lovely. But yeah, been gone for a few weeks. Not that I've gotten anywhere and doing anything particularly important. I've just kind of focused on the channel a little bit more and stuff. You know how it is. And a pinch of busy with the channel and a big heaping tablespoon of not been fucked. You know, with podcasts, they're always more of a passion project, a side gig, just something I do in my downtime when I'm bored or whatnot. You know, not something I've actively attempted to pursue a career in. But yeah, it's been a while. What's big old Double D been up to this week? Or these past weeks? I suppose the missus went to Croatia. There's a bit of news. She went to an old bridal party, or was it, what do you call them, bridesmaids, a hen weekend, whatever you want to call it. She went to Croatia there with a few of the girls for an extended weekend. And she very much enjoyed it. Loads of lovely photos and whatnot. But more importantly, while she was over there, they had straws. These straws, drinking straws as you do. And as you could imagine, they had a willy on the tip, you know, where you drink it, where you put your lips. It was a willy, which was amazing for two reasons. Because one, it's a willy, like, you know, come on, it's fucking hilarious. And two, why did they have to make it life size? I don't understand. I felt threatened by the photo when she sent it to me. But also, it was so hilarious. I had to ask her to bring me back one. So she did. Bless her, she brought me back a willy straw, and now I have a Tuesday straw for any time I partake in a few cheeky drinks of an evening on a Tuesday. I can now drink it out of a dick, which is great. So that's the top quality nonsense and shy talk you've all been missing these last near 2 months. Aren't you feeling a little bit ripped off now? You forgot what my shy talk is like. Oh God, what's new in the world? I dropped that first world problems video, a kind of video I've been contemplating for like, since whenever I stopped doing the pet peeves video way back when, a few years back, because I'd always have, like, you know, annoying thoughts and little tidbits and bits and whatnot that wouldn't fit in its own video, or you know, you couldn't really touch on in a story. Because that's typically what I'll do with those little kind of minor annoyances. I might interject them into a story to kind of add a bit more comedy, or, you know, just go off on a little tangent and then get back on point. But I've always been playing with the idea of doing like first world problem videos, which would be like the spiritual successor to the pet peeves videos, where I'm just kind of a more general rant, or, you know, if I can, I'll try keep it within a certain topic, but more kind of an exercise in kind of just free talking. In a sense, you know, just where I could just get to write down, or have, because what I do with them scripts, with those videos when I'm writing them out, I literally just have like a Word document, and it's just full of just little shit that kind of annoys me or bugs me, or stuff I've noticed that, you know, maybe other people may have not noticed or drawn attention to. I'll just buy a big list on that, and then I'll just expand upon that when I'm writing it. But there's a funny thing about that though, which is just fucking typical. My last few videos, pretty hard work, you know. I have the vaccination video, the fanny wagon, you know, those kind of videos are very heavy lifting when it comes to editing. A lot of rolling up the sleeves and knuckling down and fucking, you know, grinding through days and days and days of work. But the thing with the first world problems video is, because the jokes are a lot more quick fire and condensed, and it's not actually a story. There's actually a little bit less work, maybe about 30% less work. That's probably why I was able to get it out within 2 weeks instead of a month. But yeah, so it's that little bit less work. And you know what happened when I released it? It's got more views in the first few days than any of my last 7 videos have in their first few days, regardless of what it was. Which is just fucking typical, really, isn't it? It's like I put in a little less effort and it gets a little bit more attention. But that's just how these things are. You can't account for that. And I suppose with a new series, people are probably a bit more curious. Either that, or I probably still have a lot of fans left over from the days where I just did strictly rants, and it's kind of like, you know, it's been back on form in a way, like, you know, a bit of a blast from the past in a way. Which I'll probably do that going forward. I'll probably do like a story and then a first world problems and then another story and then a first world problems. It's not that I'm running out of stories, it's just stories are so heavy lifting, and doing a first world problems almost felt like a little bit of a break because it was, 30% less work, but it just made it feel like when you have like a day at work where your boss isn't there. It's kind of one of them things you get the work done, but you don't feel near as much pressure, or if you're in school and you're listening to a podcast at the age of 16 for some reason, if you're in school and, you get a substitute teacher, that kind of way, you don't have to knuckle down as hard. It's a lot of that. What else have I been getting up to? I've been watching that Johnny Depp Amber Heard trial and talk about I've done a 180 on that. I've actually done a 180. See, the first few weeks, the Mrs. Connie, she was watching it religiously because she very much would like to play Captain Jack Sparrow's flute, if you get my meaning. She's a very big fan of Johnny Depp, as most people are. He's been great in movies, always has been. But she's a very big fan of him. And before the trial even started, she was just like, fuck Amber Heard. She's a lying bitch. Oh, my Johnny would never be like that. This kind of shit. Not my Johnny. And I was taking a very neutral stance on the whole thing. I was just like, now come on, there must be some fucking truth to what she's saying. Like, why would it be going on this far, and all this kind of stuff. I was on the fence because I was just like, why would somebody of her fame and notoriety lie about something that would absolutely fucking end her career if it turned out to be bullshit, that kind of way, which is a fair assumption when you think about it, So with her talking about it a lot, I kind of got into watching it because I'm stuck in this period of my life where I'm not acquiring new music to listen to at the same rate. I'm exhausting the music I'm already listening to. And I've run out of podcasts to listen to as well, or at least ones that have interested me. So I'll put the trial on the background while I'm editing videos and stuff. But after a few weeks of watching it, I can honestly say, I think Amber Heard's a lying bitch. I'm not going to lie. Fuck me. Like, the amount of evidence Johnny Depp's team is after putting up in front of the court to counter everything she's saying. Because she has these claims of having the shit knocked out of her by Johnny Depp, like 2 black eyes and a fat lip, and, there was all this drama kicking off about it. But then Johnny Depp's team came along and they're like, okay, here is every single person who was in and around these situations that has an insight. Here are all the witnesses to all of this. We got security guard. We got one of those waiter fellas that are like head of the house. I'm just thinking like, Jeffrey from Fresh Prince, that kind of thing. One of them. You have drivers and 4 fucking police officers all up in the stand are saying, yeah, no, there was no fucking marks on Amber Heard. There was nothing. Everything she's claimed, I didn't witness. And when you have that much, I guess it's so mounted against her. When you have that much going against everything she's saying, like she claimed she had 2 black eyes and a fat lip, but then she was on like James Gordon the next day, or Gordon, whatever, talk show the next day. And I'm sorry, lads, but no amount of fucking makeup is going to cover up a fat lip. Whatever about the black eyes, you might be able to. But whatever about it, you couldn't do that with a fat lip. Anybody who's ever had a fat lip knows you can't hide a fat lip with fucking makeup. You really can't. But the one and only fat lip I've had in my life, this will tell you how sheltered I am, was I was shifting a girl one night, as you do, and she got it into her head to suck my lip. I don't know if she just thought it was hot or something. Probably, I kind of was in the moment anyway, because I was still wet behind the ears. I didn't understand what was going to happen next. But she like sucked the shit out of my lip. And what she essentially did, she burst all the blood vessels in my lip, and it gave me a fat lip. I had a fat lip for like 2 weeks after. It was ridiculous. So yeah, if you're ever shifting a young one, or if a fella's ever shifting you or whatnot, just don't suck each other's lips, because you will get a fucking fat lip. But yeah, so all that's just mounting against her. Like it's getting a bit sus. There was the thing as well. She was supposed to give her divorce fee, like when she divorced Johnny Depp and she got awarded, I think it was like 7 million or something like that from the divorce court. She was supposed to give that to charity, and it's come to light. At least Johnny Depp's legal team has pointed out, you haven't fulfilled that promise at all, and that was like 6 years ago you were supposed to do that, but she had only paid 200,000 or something towards the 3.5 million she was supposed to be giving these 2 charities. She'd only given about 200,000. Was it Elon Musk had donated 500,000 towards her, and I think Johnny Depp had donated 100,000 himself towards the charity. So Johnny Depp is looking real good right now. Not that I'm saying that he was completely innocent. He certainly had his own demons, and still does, I'm sure, to some degree, but with drugs and whatnot. But I kind of believe him when he says that he didn't put hands on her, that kind of way. Now again, I don't know exactly what goes on behind closed doors, so I can't say definitively, and I think anybody that does has been a little bit ignorant. I'm just kind of going on the general vibe. But what really sold it for me in the end, Johnny Depp's at least innocence from the vast majority of Heard's claims was the vibe when she got up onto the stand. And I was trying my best to keep an open mind when she got up on that stand, and it's like she started talking and giving the spiel about how she met Johnny and all the stuff that started happening. And like, did you ever just get that gut feeling? You know, did you ever just take a disliking to somebody from, like, I don't know what way to describe it, but the best way I can describe it is a gut feeling. And I can only associate with, like, if you've ever been with somebody, a relationship, and you've got like a weird unsettling gut feeling that like they might be cheating on you, and you can't shake it. I've always thought that as like your subconscious picking up on little behaviours and clues that you're not consciously noticing yourself, and that's why it kind of unsettles you a little bit. You know, it's the equivalent of getting a headache when there's a thunderstorm coming nearby. You know, it's just kind of these things that your body or your brain picks up on that you're not conscious about. And you know, more often than not, you're, at least in my life, I was right with those kind of gut feelings. That's the kind of thing I'm getting off Amber Heard. A very unsettling, like, oh, I don't believe a fucking word she's saying. She's just striking me as a slimy, lying old cow. Like, yeah, no. Oh God. She's certainly rubbing me up the wrong way. And, you know, a part of my brain kind of wants her to be lying, because, you know how like the Me Too movement has kind of come around in these last, like, 10 years or so. And I'm all for it. There's a lot of fucking creepy, perverted, dirty bastards in this fucking world, and absolutely expose them and parade them around the world and show these kind of bastards exist. I'm all for that. But the problem is, when the Me Too movement came around, it kind of like, the needle should have landed in the middle. You know, it should have been fair. It should have landed and say, look, some lads are bastards, but some lads are not. And it should have landed in the middle. But it kind of went a bit too hard the opposite direction, where it became a thing where it didn't matter whether you had evidence or not. A woman could just merely accuse a man of something and he was just guilty in the eyes of the public, regardless. You know, that kind of way. He could ruin somebody's entire life by genuinely just lying as a woman. And, you know, I don't think humans should have that power, much, not just like women and men, because, you know, women being fucking lying bitches are as common as fellas being lying bastards. You know, this is not new. We're all fucking people. We're all capable of being cunts. But I hope this case turns out that Amber Heard's a bit of a lying bitch, because if that's the case, it'll kind of help move the needle back a bit towards the middle. So maybe not every single accusation that is made by a woman is considered true. You know, that kind of way. Not that I want people to be shat or women to be shat on for coming out and saying stuff, but I just want fellas not to be falsely accused, if that makes sense. I don't know. You all know what I mean anyway. You all know what I'm getting. I don't need to over-explain myself now here at all. But you get what I'm saying. You know, I want fellas to be looked after, because I heard the story before. I think it was I believe PJ told me about it before. But there was this fella he knows, lovely chap, like a real sweetheart of a lad. Like, you know, PJ knew him for years. Not like good friends, but, you know, kind of very well acquainted with him. And he got off with this girl, or at least he started like chasing this girl. He was attracted to this girl, so he started like flirting with her, texting her, whatnot. And he invited her over to his house one night, or one evening, something like that. And so she came over along, and he's quite a musical chap. And he started like playing the guitar for her and stuff like that. You know, serenading her as he do, putting the moves on. And he went to go for the shift. He went to make out with her, and she pulled back, and she was like, "What the fuck are you doing?" He was like, "What? What's going on?" She was like, "No, I don't want that." And she got up and she like ran out of the house. And then she told everybody that he attempted to rape her. Now, any other day of the week, I'd be like, okay, what did the fella actually do? You know, when there was nobody around and all that. But I was assured by anybody who knew him, no, she's a fucking psychopath. That lad would never fucking try to pull any shit like that, like, you know. And I'd be inclined to believe him, you know, because my mate's a good judge of characters, so I wouldn't be inclined to disagree. Like, but, you know, again, you'll have your doubters of that story as well. But like, if that turns out to be true, which is not completely out of the realm of possibility, there's just some psychopathic fucking women out there, lads. That's all it takes to ruin somebody's reputation. And from what I hear, it's a reputation he still has to this day, despite nothing been done. It's not like she went to the guards or the cops about it or anything like that. This is just something she just told people in passing. Any time this fella was brought up. And in all likelihood, it was just a lad, you know, thinking that he was making some progress in charming her, and went to lob the gob, and it wasn't reciprocated, and she kind of went a bit too far the other way. So that's what I'm kind of hoping that'll come out the other end of this trial, just to balance the scales a small bit. What else is going on in the world? That Avatar 2 teaser trailer, seen that come out there the other day, had a look at it. Now, I'm not like a huge fan of the first Avatar. It's essentially CGI Pocahontas in space, in my eyes. But I do have a bit of a soft spot for it. I remember I was way back when I was in the bad days. I was working in Extravision. It's like a video DVD shop for those of you who don't know. And I was called in to cover a shift in a couple of towns over. It was in a town called Cashel. If any from around Tipperary there in Ireland, you might know the place. But I was called in to cover a shift over in Cashel there to do like 2 or 3 days. So I went there anyway. And after day 1, I realised that like nobody comes in the shop within the first 2 or 3 hours. Like, so from 12 o'clock, I think we opened, it was like 11 or 12 till about 3 o'clock, nobody into the shop. The fuck do you want to be going to a DVD shop at like anywhere between 11 and 3 o'clock of a Tuesday evening, you know? So after realising that in day 1, day 2 over there, I just said, you know what? I haven't seen that Avatar film. Fuck it, let's throw it on. So I threw it on one of the TVs inside the shop. I sat down in a lovely comfy office chair in there, put my feet up on the counter, grabbed a packet of share-size hunky-dories that I didn't pay for. Yeah, fuck you, Extravision, I fucking stole them. And I sat there and I ate my bag of hunky-dories and I watched Avatar for the 2.5, 3 hours as that film was. And I wasn't interrupted once. Not a single customer came into the shop and it was fucking great. So very fond memories of getting paid for 3 hours work for sitting there and watching a fucking movie. So yeah, that's my fond memories of that. So I'll probably see when it comes out. Apparently it's going to be in 3D, which is that I haven't seen a 3D movie in ages. They kind of fell off again. You know, like 3D comes around every 30 years or so and it builds in popularity and then dies out again and builds and good dies out again. But apparently James Cameron's shot this entirely to be 3D. Now I'm not super sold on 3D. Like sometimes I feel like I'm getting less of a clear image when I'm watching it in 3D. I don't know, maybe I'm the only one. Maybe I have wonky eyes or something like that, which is not out of the realm of possibility. But I always feel like there's like a little bit of definition lost when I'm watching something with 3D glasses. So yeah, I'm a bit meh about. But I suppose if there's any movie you're going to see in 3D, it's going to be Avatar. What else did I get up to? I finished watching Moon Knight, where I started and finished watching Moon Knight. And yeah, it's quite enjoyable. Again, it was not like WandaVision where it was like you go in there kind of expecting another fucking Marvel film, but they do something very different with it. You know, it's something new and strange. Like WandaVision had the whole like TV, every episode was like a TV show from a different era, like, you know, the 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s and 90s and whatnot. So that was different. It was adventurous. I love a bit of adventurous filmmaking or TV series, whatever it is in this case. I love a bit of adventure, you know. I like people trying new things. It's always good to do that. It's refreshing. And Moon Knight did the same thing with I know the character himself is technically the new thing, but the fact that they're trying a superhero like this is refreshing, and I like the whole split personality thing. And so yeah, it's really good. And Oscar Isaac can play 2 different characters very convincingly, to the point where I was just convinced it wasn't the same person come the end of the series. Like, you know, every time one personality would take over the other, like so I was just like, yeah, this can't be, it's not the same man, surely. Like, I know a lot of people were like harking on him for his bad British accent, but here's the thing, I'm not British, so the accent sounds fine to me. So I can just absorb into it. It sounds good to me even. I understand what people are saying with that. Like, if I listen to Brad Pitt's impression of an Irish traveller in Snatch, it sounds so wrong in my ear. Like, it's clearly, in my ear, Brad Pitt putting on an Irish accent, or attempting to, and kind of failing in my eyes, to be honest. But again, that's because my ear is so untuned with the Irish accent. Of course, I'm going to hear any slight wrongness to it. But yeah, no, I think it was a good job. Definitely worth a watch anyway. That it's only 6 episodes long and the first season's over. So if you're looking for something good to watch, you can watch that. It's just quite enjoyable. Yeah, sorry if you hear the occasional snort or clickety clackety. My dog is kind of wandering around or sleeping in the background. I can't help that. I'm not going to quieten it. I'm not going to quieten him down. You know, he's a strong, independent woman. He can do what he's want. Who am I? But a big man bastard. I'm not going to stop him. I put out a tweet and posts. I did posts. I put them out yesterday. Sorry, I'll come back to this. This is a post about, you know, what's your problem. But I put out these posts yesterday and I sat down. I started recording a feckin' podcast yesterday. And, you know, as soon as I hit record, you know what happened? My entire life full of all the people I have met, both loved and people in passing, have all got together in a big meeting. They did a big meeting, and they're, you know, Ducky's recording a podcast, quick. Everybody ring him at once. So that's exactly what happened. Like any time. It was like the last time or the time before that I was recording a podcast. Everyone just fucking rang me at once. Again, I swear I just need to turn off my phone or something. Because you end up to, you're talking on the phone for feckin' hours with people with their different fucking problems. And then you get off the phone, you've just kind of lost any momentum and appetite for doing what you were just about to do. Yeah, really fucking up my flow. So, yeah. But anyway, I put that post out yesterday in hopes to do the podcast yesterday, but obviously I didn't. And here I am now. But the post was for What's Your Problem? So if you have any questions or advice you'd want me to give my 2 cents on, just reply to the post or whatnot. I put it out on Twitter, I put it out on YouTube, and I put it out a new one, Instagram. Decided to add it to Instagram. And I will say, fucking Instagram delivered. Jesus Christ, my inbox blew up on Instagram. I'm never a big fan, or at least I never was a big fan of Instagram, at least at the beginning. Because it was just like, it's just full of fucking vain bastarding people posting pictures of themselves and, look how fantastic everything is in my life, and we all know they're secretly as fucking depressed as the rest of us behind it. But yeah, so I never really took a liking to it to start, but I started a Ducky page, I needed a rant page, just to, help with promo and other nonsense, share pictures of my dog. Who doesn't want to see a picture of a dog, like? But started that. I've warmed to it over time. I've warmed to it because the users of Instagram, it has to be said, are much more willing to engage in virtually anything you put up than YouTube, on the YouTube community or the Twitter posts. I say YouTube community posts because obviously under videos people comment all day long. It's grand there when you post a video, but if you're just doing a community post, most people just ignore it. And Twitter, yeah. But I got inundated. So the problem I have now is I asked that question and like fucking hundreds of people replied. So rather than kind of getting in depth with 2 or 3, I'm going to have to like skim a lot of them or give quicker answers if I can. So I'm going to go through a few on each platform. I'm not going to go through all of them. Let's be fair. It's the internet. 40 to 50% of them were so terrible questions. The questions were so terrible. They just made me want to just punt an orphan into the face. Just one of these like, dear Christ almighty. You could have said anything, and that's the question you ask. I don't like shitting on my own fans, but Jesus Christ, it has to be done. I'm sorry. I'm not responsible for what they say. I'm not responsible for what they say, and especially when they say it to me, Mr. fucking Critical here. I'm going to have to say something, but some of them are really bad fucking questions. Ducky, what kind of bread do you like? You're a duck, you like bread. Saying yes, great, fantastic. Or the question I get about, like, why'd you pick a duck or something? And, questions people ask that I've answered 500 times before, and if they really cared, they would have fucking found it. So anyway, I'm going to jump over to Twitter, seeing as that's the first post I did. And I'm going to go through some questions and some advice for you lots. So I don't have a jingle. Again, I got lazy, so we're just going to have to go. In dry. All right, we got David who says, I'm 20 years old and single. I only had one girlfriend and cannot seem to find another. It's been 2 years. I can talk to them and make them laugh, but I keep getting friend-zoned. What do I do? I'm not looking for an easy bang. I want something serious. Anybody who gets friend-zoned and they're around women that tend to actually enjoy their company, it's just a matter of sealing the deal. That's all it is. You've got a great opener, but you need a good closer. And I think a lot of lads kind of get bogged down with spending too much time trying to wow the girl and not enough time to try, close the deal. So you need to kind of be a bit more aggressive with your approach. Once you find out, that they like you, rather than just hoping something will happen, make something happen. Ask them out, try lead the conversation to a more kind of erotic topic if you can, ask them out on dates, and just generally you gotta grab yourself by the balls, give them a bit of a twist and dive in. That's my theory for why most lads do get friend zoned, is because after a while women kind of go, well, he's not pursuing me, he clearly just wants to be a friend, and then they kind of switch that mindset and they kind of stick to it. So when you do make it clear, oh, actually I want to pursue you, they're just like, no, it's better when we're just friends because you listen to my problems. In that sense, a lot of women don't realise though that a lot of fellas are bastards, me included. In a lot of part of my life, because I'm guilty of this as well, or have been guilty of it in the past, where I'll just be talking to a girl, and if I'm not making any ground with her at all, I'll just give up talking to her entirely. I was a bit of a fucking player back in the day, and that's kind of how I did it. But yeah, just, seal the deal. That's what you need to worry about. Not making chit chat with them, not making them laugh. Seal the deal. That's the bit you need to focus on. Black Flame asks, does the feeling that I'm meant to be doing something cooler or greater than this ever die down over time, or am I stuck with this for life? I know what you mean, yeah, where you want to be doing something better, like when you have that thought where you're just like, I'm not fucking destined to sit here and serve customers for the rest of my life. I want to be doing something fucking way cooler or better or whatnot. That doesn't die down until you get the thing you want, so if you want to do music, or in my case YouTube or whatever else, it doesn't die down until you get it. But when you do get it, it gets replaced with an entirely new thing called tedious boredom. As Bane says from Batman, you know, victory will defeat you. You always need something to chase. You know, you need that kind of, the best way, if any of you guys ever watched UFC, you know how like Conor McGregor used to be the best fighter in the fucking world at one stage, and now he's like lost 3 or 4 of his last fights. I can't quite tell. I think there was the phrase of like, it's hard to get out of bed in the morning when you're sleeping in silk sheets, you know? So it's that, you kind of still need that hunger. You see it there when you're, the want to pursue something, to better yourself and all that. That's a plus. Don't look at it as a minus. That's something that will drive you. Well, humans are weird things where we just need busy work until we die. It's not necessarily getting the thing we're chasing, as long as we're trying to get there. That's the majority of it. It's a bit bleak, but that's what my take on it is. On Twitter says, do you believe a long distance relationship can successfully translate into a healthy physical relationship? Yeah, I'd be skeptical on how effective a long distance relationship is though, because they're impossible. At least when I was growing up, they're impossible. Granted, with the advent of the internet, there might be ways to kind of maintain it better, you know, and you have like, you can just Skype or Zoom or whatever all the time, and then there's different ways of interacting online than there was when I was growing up. But my general thing was like, without actually having somebody physically there, it was very difficult to keep anything going, because there's too many distractions in life, especially if you're young. You're always kind of looking out the corner of your eye to see if something better is going to come along. But can it translate into a healthy physical relationship? Yeah, sure. Just get to know them and just, you know, treat it like a first date, because at the end of the day, being physical with somebody is a big step. And on a long distance, strictly online relationship is, in my opinion, no different than fucking sexting somebody. You know, it's very, very impersonal. You haven't crossed the start line, in my opinion. You know, for me, a relationship only starts when you start meeting up and hanging out and stuff, like in real life. Otherwise, you know, there's no difference between them and an e-girl or an e-boy, I suppose, as they call it nowadays. So yeah, it could definitely translate, but you know, you just have to treat it like you've not been married for 25 years and actually go in there and court them, date them, you know, wow them for the first few dates. Michael says, how to relax when you're stressed or anxious? You don't. Take it as somebody who's always working towards fucking deadlines. You can't relax when you've shit to do. Typically when you're stressed, you obviously have shit to do. The only way you can relax is to get that shit done. And a lot of times that shit is harder in your mind than it is in reality. And 95% of the battle is just starting it, and, you know, the inertia of actually doing it will take over, and typically you can get it done pretty quickly. So yeah, that's what I say. Whatever's stressing you out, resolve it. That's the only way you're ever going to relax. Otherwise, you're just going to be sitting there with your feet up. You're going to appear relaxed while being stressed and anxious. That doesn't go away until you address the underlying thing. Demon Z says, how many fingers does it take to please the missus? It'll be just the one, because I use it to order a takeaway on my phone. So I just need the one. That's what truly make her happy. I'm sure you're thinking of a more erotic sense, but no, if I want to get at the core what that girl loves, it's through her belly, you know? Food. I think she'd actually, if she had to survive the rest of her life, she had to make a choice. She had to like sacrifice quarter pounders or sacrifice dick. She'd sacrifice the dick. I don't think she'd give up the quarter pounder, to be honest. So yeah, there you go. There's your answer. Soda says, how do you deal with being a full-time legend among lads? Quietly, on my own, and far away from people, noise, or any kind of social obligation whatsoever. Yeah, that's how I deal with it. I hide, and I occasionally pop out my front door, say something hilarious, and then run away again before anybody can say anything. That sums up my life. Jack Lantern says, how do I become as handsome and sexy as you? You pay somebody to draw you very handsome and sexy. That's how I did it. There you go. Bit of an odd question, Jack, I'm not going to lie. Tips for those that are socially inept and struggle with anxiety. Gotten generally good to deal with it, but it's been playing up so bad lately. That's from Xander. The best way I found to deal with social anxiety is exposure. I was at my most social, if you want to call it that, even though I am a completely antisocial person. I was at my most social when I was working in retail, when it was being forced upon me. And from that, I kind of learned that if I'm kind of interacting with people on a daily basis, or at least a lot more often, if I make myself interact with people more often, it becomes easier. You know, it's kind of, you get trained, and it's not as bothersome to engage with a group of people. But that's something I still fucking deal with to this day. I don't like crowds of people. I get apprehensive about jumping on Discord, and I shit myself before a stream, even though it's just me talking. You know, these kind of things, they don't necessarily 100% go away, but you can certainly make them easier by just exposure. Lost Redditor says, are you and The Right Opinion still in touch now that he's grown so much? We interact every now and again, yeah. I love The Right Opinion. I think it's fantastic. His content's top notch as well, like, you know, and I believe the feeling is mutual from his side as well. I think the last time I think his editors did 100,000, it was a million subscriber special, I believe it was. And they contacted me about doing a little bit because they wanted to create a specialized video for him to kind of, you know, thank him for the work he's providing and, you know, his channel and all that kind of stuff. So they reached out to me if I would do a little kind of a minute or two bit congratulating him and whatnot. So I did that. I made it for him and I sent that on to him. So, but it'll be one of those things that even if we haven't spoken in a long time and we bumped into each other, we'd still talk as if we were only speaking the day before. You know, it's one of them things. But yeah, no, I hope he's doing well, actually. I haven't spoken to him in ages. Last Jen Rich Tufen says, not to get political, but how do you feel about Hawaiian pizza? Which is very fitting, actually, because I have a running gag with The Right Opinion about because he can't stand the idea of Hawaiian pizza. He thinks it's an insult on humanity, and I actually quite like it. So I always like to imply that he loves it too. But no, I love pineapple on pizza. I think it's great. And you know, you have people a bit just like, oh no, you can't put fruit on pizza. And I'm just like, what the fuck is a tomato then, huh? The whole entire base of the fucking pizza is tomato. Fuck's sake, can't put fruit in pizza. You can do what you want with pizza. It's a wonderful thing. Let's not create wars over it, lads. Can we all agree? Pizza, cake, and alcohol are all fantastic. We're all in the same ship here. Let's not start civil wars. Can or Cian, not quite sure what we name that, spelled C-A-I-N, says, if you could choose to have a surgery that would make you forget one movie so you can rewatch it again for the first time, what would you pick? That's hard. See, I have that ability already. It's called just being generally forgetful. Like, if I see a very good movie, I kind of intentionally don't watch it again for years and years and years because it'll start feeling fresh again when I go back to it. But if you had to fucking put a gun to my head and say, quick, Ducky, pick one, you know, it'd probably be a porn video. Like, come on, lads. Like, you know, I'm going to be real. We've all come across that one video when we're having an old cheeky Tom Hank that we're like, oh my God, this video is the fucking best. And you know, you're having an immaculate top shelf, imported directly from the provinces of Hot and Sexyville. These kind of unbelievable, this video is right up your street kind of wanks, you know? We all have that. So if I could get rid of my memory of that and then discover it again, just so I could have another immaculate wank, I think I'd do that. I think I'd get more out of it. Because you know these videos, because you come across one and it's a very good one and you keep going back to it, but eventually it's not new anymore. It's not exciting. But I'd take that time back. I think a good toss is better than any movie. Generic Sniper Brony says, how did you meet with the boys? Or how did you meet the boys? True school. Hef was kind of true school. PJ was true school as well, but PJ was true a different friend. Me and PJ, we kind of knew each other well enough in school, but we didn't become proper friends until after school. That's when we really started to kind of bond, was more after school. Myself and Hef were always pretty friendly in school as well. But it's like one of these things, they were like extended friends in school, and then after school we all kind of came together then because we're all familiar with each other. I think we properly really truly started to bond. I think myself and PJ was a little bit before Hef came into the circle, but not by much. Myself and PJ, how we even came across, or how we even all moved in together was, I think it was myself and PJ were actually viewing a house because we were both working in the same town, but it wasn't the town we were from. So we were looking to move into a house in that town, save us having to fucking drive to work every day and all that. And we wanted to move out for fucking parents' house as well. So, but we're on our way to view a house. We're heading down this town and we bump into Hef, somebody we hadn't seen in about a year at this stage, but we're all very friendly. We bump into him. We're like, "Cheers, lad, what are you doing over this neck of the woods?" And Hef was like, "Oh, I'm just after coming from a job interview there. I was looking to get a job there nearby." And we're like, "Oh, no fucking way. If you get that job, fucking talk to us, like, because we're looking to move into this town there and we're going to see a house right now that's 3-bedroom, like, so we'll be looking for somebody else if you're up for it." And he's like, "Oh yeah, fuck it, I'll tag along with you." So he came with us to the viewing and we seen it, and lucky enough he got the job and everything just kind of fell in together. But yeah, I didn't particularly, I knew them from school, but I wasn't close with them until after school. The Boop says, how do you start dating if you've got anxiety? I need advice, please. It really depends how severe your anxiety is and what triggers it, but I've always found, like, if it's just dating, just get used to being around somebody. That's anxiety is just the worry of making an arse of yourself mostly, and, you know, the kind of pressure of having to present yourself in front of a crowd usually. So if you're just familiarise yourself with somebody enough, that'll go away. So yeah, just get friendly with him. It's the reason why you can, like, fart out loud in front of your family, but you'd be a bit more apprehensive to do it around a stranger. You know, it's a comfort thing in my opinion. So I'd say that, yeah, just bite the bullet and hang around with them more. Crawler says, if you ruled the world, what were the first 3 things you would do? End it. I think we've all had enough. I don't think any of us signed up for this shit. I think none of us consented, let's be fair, lads. And it's an expensive thing then as well, you know, being alive and all that. And, you know, so expensive and I'm not even having a good time. So I think most people would have just end it, you know. Let's just put a stop to this fucking farce. I'll do that all 3 times. That's my 3 things. Cancerous Attitude said, what's your favourite video you've made? I don't like putting a favourite because different ones for different occasions. But usually the answer is the most recent one I've done. But if I had to pick one based on reception, probably like it used to be the hotel fart story, but according to the comments, my mother's fart story, the ring clap and counter fart, wonderfully titled, by the way. You can thank me in the comments. But yeah, I think that's probably my new favourite just because of how many people in the comments said they just absolutely nearly split themselves in half laughing, and that's just really sweet for me. That's a feeling like no other, to know that you've made so many people absolutely cackle out loud. It's lovely. It's a lovely feeling. Max says, should I lower my car? And he has an Irish flag in his name, so I'm going to go, have you not seen Irish roads? Anybody who lowers their car in Ireland is a fucking idiot. I'm sorry. I never did it myself. I never seen the point of it. Have you seen the roads in Ireland? You're just guaranteeing that you're going to tear the fuck out of your bumpers and your arches on your car and everything. No, you can't. You can't lower your car unless you live in a country where the roads are reasonably smooth. Right, I'm going to jump over to YouTube. Let's see some of these YouTube comments. This could go on for a while, lads. I don't even know if you're enjoying yourselves, but I suppose it's more of a quick fire thing. Yeah, so I don't know how much fun you're getting out of this, but I don't know. Let me know. Okay, there's a lot of silly questions here, so there may not be many I'll read out. Evil Pikachu says, having quit your retail work and freed yourself from that, do you feel yourself laughing or pitying those who are still cursed to that life? No, I wouldn't even say I don't laugh at them. I certainly don't laugh at them, and I certainly don't pity them. I don't know. Pity is like it's got an element of condensation. Condensation. I'd be drowning lads with condensation. No, the word is gone. Condescending. There we go. Sorry, that's the word. Fuck it. Just an absolute brain fart. But it's got an air about condescendingness about it. You know. I sympathise. I have empathy for people who are still working in retail because I understand how fucking difficult of a life that is, and especially when you're at an age where you should be starting to think about the rest of your life and you're still stuck in a dead end job, and the depression and the anxiety and the fucking anger that comes along with that. It's unbearable. It's not anything I'd wish upon anybody. It's horrible. Like, so yeah, I certainly feel a hell of a lot of empathy for people in retail and stuff, and I still do. Like, to this day, in my local shop, there's one of the guys who works on the checkout, and you can tell he's really fucking miserable. And I absolutely get behind that. Like any, you can imagine a Karen getting annoyed by how just his general demeanour, you know, that kind of way, by how he's not, he doesn't try to be overly friendly or anything like that. He's not rude. He's just clearly miserable. He's not a happy man. And I absolutely get that. I'm just kind of like, I feel like I need to kind of buy him a drink as I'm going through the checkouts. Like, Dad, that's for you. You fucking need it more than I do. You know, it's one of them things. I absolutely understand the suffering of that. So yeah, I'd say it's certainly a lot of empathy I do. Pringle Addict says, how long will you be keeping up this feathersona, like 5 years until you're quacked? I've thought about that. I know I've promised the face reveal at 222,000 subs or whatnot, but as time goes on, it's kind of like the novelty of like being moderately famous or anything like that is kind of long since worn off, and now I'm just like, I don't know how thrilled I am about ever being recognised in public. You know, it's something I kind of crave. So what I was thinking is, because I've also promised it as well, which is a bit it's kind of put me in a corner. I think it's going to be a case of like one of those things. Do you ever see like the Odd Ones Out or some other kind of animator YouTubers where they've done one video where they've shown their face, or maybe they've just, you know, shown it on their socials or something like that, but like they kept the channel more or less neutral from it altogether? Because like any day I'll do the face reveal, I don't think I'll ever be like frequently showing it at all. I think it'll just be the business as usual after that. I think the channel is more about, anytime I've ever watched people who inhabit characters, not necessarily characters, but like who inhabit something that's not themselves through animations or whatnot, it always just seems weird to take that away. If I see their face, it's almost like that's a different person to what I've been watching all this time. Like, you know, I'm just like, oh, that's very nice. That person has a face, and they kind of sound like the YouTuber I'm watching. But I never kind of crave beyond that to delve any further. I just, as long as it's business as usual. It's like years ago, Grade A Under A showed his face. It didn't change my perception of the character at all. I was like, well, that's what he looks like behind it, but I never pictured it. I always just pictured the character anyway, you know? It's just one of them things. That guy in Aldi says, 2 years ago I broke up with my girlfriend because I found out she was cheating on me. I'm a lot better now, but I haven't been in a relationship since, and I find it extremely difficult to trust other people. Any advice for me? Oh God, that's a very, very good question. Years ago, like me and my mate Dara, who we've had in the podcast before, both of us had broken up with our exes in and around the same time in the past. And I believe under similar conditions as well. Both of us really did carry some trust issues with women going forward for a long, long time. And I suppose the best thing about those kind of trust issues, or at least what kind of worked for me, and it's probably not the healthiest way to kind of think about it, but you kind of get so hurt by a breakup, especially if there was infidelity, especially if you're cheated on. You kind of get so hurt from that. It numbs you a little bit when you go to the next one. And for me, at least, it was a case of, okay, look, if this next girl I'm going out with cheats on me, it's going to hurt. But it's not going to hurt like the first one. And I've gotten over it before. You know, it's kind of like, my life isn't over. Life continues on. There's plenty of other women that are happy to sit in my flute if I fucking go looking for it. You know, it's one of those things where you kind of need to learn to accept that it's a possibility and that you can change the outcome no matter what you do. So your kind of paranoia and distrust is almost wasted effort. It's just tormenting yourself. So you're actually just better off not worrying about that kind of stuff, because you can change it. Because if somebody's going to cheat on you, they're going to cheat on you. It doesn't matter if you're calling them out on it, if you're telling them your suspicions and all that. They're going to do it regardless. You can't change that. There's nothing you can do. And it's not a reflection on you or what you've said and what you've done. It's not a reflection on you whatsoever. It's the person you're with. It's their character flaw. So just don't take it personally, and don't fear it every day of the week, because that's how you make a very miserable relationship. You won't be able to enjoy your second, third or fourth relationship if you're still bogged down in the tragedy of the first. You know, if you're still worrying about that kind of shit, you just need to take these as a risk. There's a risk to everything you do. These are risks. But if you sit there worrying about the risks all day, you're never going to enjoy life at all. You know, it's like, technically, if you wash your hands and then you turn on a light switch in your house, you could be electrocuted. You could. It's a possibility. But most people don't worry about things that hard, because it would make their life miserable to spend that much mental energy on little shit the whole time, you know? So I hope that helps. Tucson 2002 said, what's your thoughts on higher education versus trade, or just hitting the workforce straight out and consider your time in retail? It's hard. That's a hard one to nail down, because one thing I've found, and I'm sure a lot of people out there can relate to this, but when I left school, I still did not have a fucking iota on what I wanted to do. Not a fucking notion what I wanted to do. And I wouldn't for years after that. I don't think most people do. They do a thing that they think they might like, be it like if you're a fella or something, you might go into mechanics or engineering or, you know, something like that. Or if you're a woman, you might want to become a beautician or a hairdresser or designer or artist, all this kind of stuff. You think that's what you want, because you kind of, in your mind, you're like, well, this is stuff I don't necessarily hate, so that probably means I like it. But that's not necessarily the case. What worked for me, it's not going to work for everyone, and it's certainly not the right fucking way. I will say that, because I fell and stumbled and made an arse of myself a lot of my life with how I did it. I left school, went straight into workforce. I was really bad in school. I was like, you know, reasonably intelligent lad, but I just couldn't fucking focus. I couldn't knuckle down. I couldn't study. To be quite honest, I think I've probably got fucking undiagnosed adult ADHD, if I was to give it any kind of thought. But what I did, I couldn't bear doing more school. So when I finished my leaving cert, which is like finished high school, I just went straight into the workforce. I started working retail, and it was a few years of misery in retail, that kind of, those extra few years of really knuckling down, properly thinking about what I wanted to do with my life. That's when I started to realize what I can do next. But just because you do one doesn't mean you can't do the other. Like, I went straight into the workforce, but then I did go to college. I left retail, and, you know, I saved up a bit of money working in retail, and then I went to college for a year doing the film school. Didn't necessarily work for me, but, you know, it's an option, and it certainly kept me in the mind frame of I want to do something with video production or film or something like that. Kind of kept me in that mindset. It kind of felt like a bit of progress and quieting down the voices in my head that were telling me I was a fucking failure. So it kind of kept that at bay a little bit. But like, there's no right or wrong answer. Just whatever you think yourself. If I would suggest, if you're still unsure about what you want to do, going straight into the workforce and making a bit of money while you contemplate it is a valid option. But also, going to college is just as valid, because you can go to college and find out whether or not you do indeed like the thing that you're pursuing, you know. So, or, you know, learning a trade, if that's kind of how you want to see it. You kind of really need to be kind of going, what would you like to be doing in 10 years? What's your dream job in 10 years? And you kind of, right now is when you kind of start making moves in that general direction if you can, or at least start to plan that. So yeah, I hope that helps. Dart Ultor says, how do you decide the colour of the ducks? I think Darth, I recognise the name. An old Duck Army member. Speaking of which, if you guys want to support me on Patreon or on YouTube, if you want to support the channel directly, you can do that on both their websites. You'll also get my videos at least a day early and uncensored. So if you're a fan of filthy and foul language, pardon the pun, you'll get the videos uncensored, and there's also a couple of bonus things. There's actually a bonus podcast on there as well, I've done specifically for the Duck Army a few months back as well. So consider supporting me over on that. But anyway, Darth Ultra says, how do you decide on the colour of the ducks? I don't, unless it's specific. I leave all that in the very capable hands of Rokata, who's, again, the channel artist you all know and love at this stage. You know, I've been using him with years, so he's the one that makes my channel look pretty. But he more or less decides. It's kind of like I only decide if it's like, okay, this is like a Ducky family member. So if it's like Mammy Duck or my brothers or my sister, then it's like, okay, they need to be the same colour as Ducky. Because I know it technically doesn't make sense, but it makes sense in the DCU, the Ducky Cinematic Universe. Makes sense in that. But typically it's kind of based on what colour clothes they're wearing, just so it doesn't kind of clash or blend or anything like that, I'd imagine. But most of the time it's just whatever Rokata thinks himself he'll do. And he's right most of the time, if not all the time. Do you mind? And Max is showing his approval for that question. Can't even see me. He's looking out from under a blanket with one eye. What do we got next? Milo Freak says, me and my wife just bought our first house and we're moving in real soon. I was just wondering if you had any advice for a new homeowner or wisdom you'd like to throw at us, and everything is welcome. Thanks, Ducky. I don't even have my own home. And me and the missus are still saving for a fucking mortgage because the housing market's in the shitter right now, as everybody my generation and younger fucking full well know. No, I don't. The only advice I can give wouldn't necessarily be useful to you, but maybe useful to the kind of fellas that are moving in with their girlfriends for the first time or their wives or whatnot, is as a fella, try not to be too gentleman about everything. Like, you know, it's very easy as a fella to kind of volunteer to pay for everything. But when you start living together in a relationship, in a house together, you need to learn how to divvy up the bills, to be fair, you know, and learn how to, it's hard for a man, but you need to learn how to let a woman pay for things on occasion. The younger generation coming up under me, like, what are you talking about, Ducky? Fuck's sake, that's the norm. I'm sorry, it wasn't the norm in my generation. Our generation's like encouraged to pay for everything. I was with this girl before where I had to pay for everything. It was a fucking disaster. She started taking it for granted. Not initially, I don't think she was being a cunt about it. She was a cunt in many other ways in the relationship, but this, I think it was just, she got so used to me paying for everything, she just kind of started taking it for granted, and then she was like suggesting we do shit, and like I'm at the other side of the phone trying to not admit that I'm completely fucking broke and can't afford it, so I'm just like, oh no, I won't be free that weekend because of this. But yeah, so don't be afraid to divvy out the bills and stuff like that, because that needs to be done up front, and you need to be kind of sticking with that if you can. And don't move into with somebody you don't like. Understand your own space and boundaries, because nobody likes to have people in your face all the time. That's the worst thing. Like me and the missus, we've been living together, what, like 8-9 years now at this stage? Maybe actually closer to 6 years. I don't know. She can tell me the number. I don't. You know, when it's a life sentence, you don't really count the fucking days, do you? But no, we have a specific day of the week. Every Sunday we hang out. That's our like couples day. Hang out and watch movies and stuff like that together. And then during the week we might talk to each other in a grand total in the day, maybe of an hour. Because if you're in each other's face the whole time, you just start fucking killing each other, and it's just going to start poisoning the relationship. But I don't know if that'll help people. There you go. There's my 2 cents. Meghan Markle asking the real fucking questions here, lads. What do you get in your chicken fillet roll? Oh, that's one I can get behind. Right, listen. Chicken fillet roll. First of all, southern fried chicken. You can't go wrong with a southern fried chicken. I'll take a spicy chicken if they don't have southern fried left, but rarely a plain. So I'll get southern fried chicken, lettuce, tomato, mayonnaise, and if I'm in there early enough, this is the fucking pièce de la résistance. When I'm in there early enough, if they still have hot bacon from the breakfast section, you know, breakfast rolls and stuff, I'll get a couple of strips of hot bacon in there, and I'll pay the extra for that, and it is fucking mint. So there you go. That's what good old Ducky eats in his chicken fillet roll. Zim the Despot, who I recognise from a fair few of my streams in the past. How are you, Zim? I hope you're well. My girlfriend and I broke up 6 months ago. While we left on amicable terms, my opinion of her has changed when I look back on our 6-month-long relationship. Some things I could have done better, but it was also my first time in a serious relationship. I feel like she could have cut me some slack. I avoided talking to her, but I have grievances I want to air to her if I see her again, basically to make her feel bad for dropping the ball in our relationship. Is this something I should do, or should I keep avoiding her? I would say absolutely keep avoiding her, lad. I don't want to come across too harsh, but no, you absolutely have to let that go. It's over. Take your lessons from it and move on. To be honest, it's probably not particularly healthy to be still that upset 6 months after the fact. I know it's your first relationship, and you know, we've all been through first relationships, and this shit we all have to carry with ourselves, you know. My worst breakup in my entire life was my first relationship, even though my second was technically the most dramatic. You know, it's the first one that always hurts the most. But like you said yourself, there's some things you could have done better, so you're not exactly an innocent party on that either. You just need to take it as a lesson learned and move on from there. That's the only right way to do about it. There is a wrong way to do about it, and that's holding on to the anger. You want to kind of just let that go and move on. Wanting to go back to that, it'd be a little bit like had a job and you didn't get along with your boss, and you got fired or you left the job or whatever. Could you imagine how nuts it would be if you went back 6 months later to give your boss your ex-boss even more shit? It's very similar to that. So I'd say, look, just take it on the chin. We all go through fucked up breakups, and they're not nice. All you can do is surround yourself with good mates, take up a hobby, and fucking just let the pain, soften over time, and take the lessons you got from that and apply them in any relationship going forward. I think that's the best way for it. Chris TDM says, am I allowed to make a Ducky out of context video without any copyright issues? Yeah, sure, go for it. I don't copyright claim people if I can avoid it, who like repost my videos. Typically, if it's and even at that, if it's an edited video or something like that, or there's even people who do like reactions to my videos, and I don't mind. Again, I'm not huge on reactions. I'm not particularly they're not my type of content, but they're adding something to it. They're making it its thing or whatever. It's fine. They're adding something to it. I only like really get onto people if they've just ripped my entire video and just uploaded that, where they're just, because that's just straight up fucking theft. They're not trying to add it or change it or anything. That's about the only time I pursue it. And even at that, I don't go copyright claiming or anything. What I'll typically do is I might contact them, be it through the comment of the video, or if it's on some other platform, I might message them and say, do you mind taking this down? Because a lot of the time it's just some fucking teenager kid or something like that has ripped it and uploaded it, and the platform I'm on has pinged it and let me know. Typically it's just a kid that doesn't know any better, so I don't want anybody getting a copyright strike on their channel just because they didn't know any better. It's only then if they like refused it or out of any kind of malice, I might then tell YouTube to go in there and remove it automatically, and they'll probably get a strike due to that. But that's never happened, and I try to avoid that when I can. I don't want to be a dick. Like AB Croat says, you've talked a lot about things you hate in retail. Is there anything you miss? Yeah, I kind of miss the banter you'd have with the lads at work. There's always a good bit of crack going on at work. It's kind of diluted over a number of weeks, but you'll always have these bursts of good crack or bizarre encounters with customers or something where you can all kind of get behind and laugh and stuff like that. Like, and even a bit of drama. I remember once when I was working in CEX, that Complete Entertainment Exchange, which is like sells second-hand consoles and whatnot. One of the lads was stacking up PS4s, I believe. Yeah, PS4s. He was stacking them up on their side in the window. And I think he accidentally knocked one of them, or maybe it was just like, because sometimes people will trade them in and the plastic on the side is a bit warped or something like that, so they don't actually stand properly. But whatever happened, one fell over and then it knocked the next. It was like a whole shelf of PlayStation 4 dominoes, knocked the whole fucking shelf clean of them. And it was worse, it was a top shelf, and like 2 or 3 of the PlayStations fell from the top shelf and just smashed off the fucking ground. And obviously at the time, the poor chap was just like, oh fuck, I'm bollocks, that kind of way. But like, could have fucking happened to anybody. Like, that was just like, it wasn't funny at the time, but looking back on it, it's fucking hilarious, because I never thought in my life I would see, and at the time it was, PS4 wasn't new, but there was no such thing as a PS5 on the horizon yet at this stage. So to see these like, premium consoles getting dominoed across a shelf and then smashing off a floor, I don't know, it's very cathartic in a way, to be honest. But yeah, I miss the crack and the banter. I also miss having something to talk about when the missus gets in, because when she gets in from work, she just unloads this fucking dump truck of shit she got up to throughout the day, and I've nothing to counter with. Because a big deterrent of getting somebody to shut the fuck up is if you talk too much as well, and they're like, I'm not talking to him, because if I start talking to him, he won't shut the fuck up talking to me. And it's a good deterrent. It's mutually assured destruction, that is. It's 2 nuclear powers. But now I've nothing. I've no weapons left. What you get up to today, dear Ducky? I recorded a podcast and I edited the video. That's about as exciting as my fucking day gets at the best of times. I might go to the shop and really mix things up, you know. But yeah, I'm defenseless now. I've nothing to kind of take up my day other than maybe I got a phone call or a fucking delivery driver woke me up. I'm defenseless, lads. I've no news. And just once I want to go back and unload my day on her again. And just to see that look of frustration on her face. I haven't seen it since I became a YouTuber. And I miss it. I miss the look of frustration that she can show when I'm talking too much about my shit day. Spite. I miss being spiteful. I really do. Herbert says, Ducky, I have a question, and be honest, what do you think about Polish people? I love the Poles. I think the Poles are fantastic. I've worked with many a Polish lad over the years, and there's always great banter with them. You know, I'd spend half my days just asking them what are all the swear words in Polish. You know, one of my favourites, I believe, is zrób maloda, which apparently means suck my dick, which is great. So all these kind of things. And how I remember that is because it sounds like you're saying slurp my load. Zrób maloda. And I think it actually literally translates into make ice cream out of me, which is fucking filthy, but it's hilarious. But no, I've worked with a few Polish lads over the years, and they've always been good crack. And almost every fucking Polish woman I've ever seen has just been an absolute bombshell of a girl, like always an absolute cracker. Like for years before I met my current missus now, and not even trying to be soppy, before I met my current missus, one of the best looking girls I've ever been with was a Polish girl. You know, so I'm very, very fond of the Poles altogether. Very fond indeed. I think the Irish and the Poles have a lot in common though, because like Poland is very religiously dominated by like Catholicism, you know, or I suppose Christianity would be a more accurate term. And, you know, that's something Ireland had suffered through for many, many years as well. So we have that kind of common ground. But yeah, no, I've great time for the Poles. Adam says, hey Ducky, what's your opinion on schools still teaching Irish language? Because I'm honestly sick of getting texts every other day about useless stories. I don't really give a fuck about the Irish language. I know it's going to sound very anti-patriotic or whatnot, but I've never found a use for it. I thought it was one of the most difficult fucking things to learn in school, just about how disinterested I was in it. I don't think it should be a mandatory subject in school. I don't think it should be not taught full stop, because I'm sure there's people that still want to learn it. And there's the Gaeltacht in Ireland, which is a section of Ireland where they speak strictly Irish, but it's a very small section. I will say, I was talking to Americans before, and they said they had learned a bit of Irish before they came to Ireland, because they were completely convinced that the entire country of Ireland spoke Irish. They didn't realise we primarily spoke English. But yeah, I know how it sounds. Yeah, we're using the language of a different nation, a nation that fucking invaded and oppressed us for years. But you know what? It's just fucking easier to know English. It really is. And the only time Irish is useful is if you're like talking Irish to a friend for a laugh, or you're chatting up a girl in the Gaeltacht, or you're translating TG Cahar on Irish telly. Like, it's really not a useful skill at all. Like, if you're a history buff and you want to know it, by all means, I think you should have access to learning it, but I don't think it should be mandatory in schools. That's just my opinion on it. Spirit says, can I still participate in Gay Tuesday if I myself am gay, or do I have to do Straight Tuesdays instead? I've said this before. I've said it on, maybe not on a podcast, but I've said it on live streams. If you're straight, you do a Gay Tuesday. It's very straightforward enough, right? If you're gay, you do a Straight Tuesday, which again is fair enough. You know, you just go the opposite. And the final one, if you're bisexual, you have to do a Celibate Tuesday, because as we all know, bisexuals are greedy and they should need to learn a bit of fucking self-control. So at least one day a week they should be celibate. So that's exactly how it works. Kieran says, where did everything go wrong? Probably at my conception, if I had to put a fucking time and date on it. But yeah, probably my conception. Kevin says, well, Ducky, is there anywhere in the world that you would love to visit or stay if given the opportunity? Japan. I've always wanted to go to Japan. I think that's almost everybody's answer, but Japan. If you're going to go anywhere, it might as well be an entirely different fucking world to your own. I like the idea of just a complete shift in culture, you know, just immersing yourself in a place that's just completely fucking different, you know. Social anxiety be damned, I'd commit to it, you know. It's just like a different world, or at least that's how I perceive it online anyway, so I hope it'll live up to it. I'm hoping to go there in the next few years with the missus, because she's always wanted to go as well, and I think it'll be pretty awesome. I'd love to do it. So yeah, Japan. I'd love to go to Japan. Danny says, do you get nervous about having a romantic relationship? It's kind of a nightmare to be committed. Once upon a time, when I was a younger man, sure, yeah, because you're a younger man and you're just like, oh, well, if I commit to a relationship, I can't ride anybody else, you know, which is like the primary objective for a young man, to ride everything that was stiffer than a breeze. But no, as you get older, you kind of realise that as lovely as Fanny is, and it is lovely, I love Fanny, as lovely as it is, it's still Fanny. It's like ice cream. You can get it in all different flavours and toppings and all that. But at the end of the day, you're still eating ice cream. It doesn't change that dramatically. Like, you know, I think the male imagination is a blessing and a curse, because you'd often have that thing. And I see it a lot where fellas are in committed relationships and Another pretty girl comes trundling along there and they're like, oh my God, she's so hot, and she's like, oh, she could do this in bed and that in bed, and she's got this kink that I've got, and they think it'll be amazing, but a lot of it's just flavoured thoughts that your brain has created. It's never going to live up to that. Really, it's just a recipe for guilt. But no, as I got older, I don't know, to be honest, I quite enjoy, without getting soppy, I quite enjoy the company of my missus. She's a good laugh to be around, she's a great sense of humour, she's good looking. You know, I've never felt the need to fear commitment with her, you know, in a way. I don't feel trapped by it. I enjoy the experience. So yeah, I don't hope that helps. Bev Bite says, opinion on rats, the realest animal there is. Bastards. Fucking bastards. Right, no, I love rats. We've had rats. I say the missus had rats, but I'm okay with rats and rodents and whatnot. I used to have hamsters and all that when I was younger. But she had rats. And the reason why I say they're bastards is because they only live 2 to 3 years. And that's just, that's a difficult pet to own, because you're guaranteed to be grieving every 2 or 3 years. And, you know, the Connies learned that firsthand. She had one rat, and then after it was about 2 years or so, got cancer and died. And then she got 2 more rats. The first rat she got was called Nibbles, by the way. I think she might be upset if I don't mention it. And then the 2 rats she had up until recently was Gizmo and Scrat. And Gizmo had a growth on his testicles, more or less. I believe it was cancerous as well, and he was just having trouble moving around, so unfortunately he had to be put to sleep. He couldn't be fixed. And Scrat's back legs gave out, and so he was really struggling moving around the cage. Again, he was old. So, you know, Gizmo's getting old as well, so like, yeah, had to be put to sleep. But it's miserable. When you have short-lived animals like that, it's like, I wouldn't say don't get them, but I'm just saying it's a lot to... It takes an emotional toll every few years, and you don't want to be mourning a loss every few years, especially if you're a big animal lover like me and Connie, like, where it does hit us hard anytime we lose a pet. So yeah, that's why I'd say they're great, but they're also bastards. Longford Man says, how to stop worrying what people think about me and stop overthinking. Progressively get old. Just wait. I think it's a byproduct of aging. You eventually just stop caring. I don't think you can actively stop. I think it's just a mindset that steadily shifts over time. But you do. As you get older, you stop giving a shit. And I think that's when you can truly start to enjoy life, is when you stop looking for the validation of others. You know, that's it. Kobe O says, this is for a date this weekend. What's the difference between being confident and being arrogant? Women love confidence in a man, but when you cross the line, you just become an arrogant prick. So here's the thing. The definition between those things are very easy to identify, but the problem is a lot of people find it hard to tell the difference between them. So, you know, they kind of get the wires crossed a little bit. Like for me, the obvious thing is confidence is being comfortable with who you are, being able to laugh at yourself, being able to make fun of yourself, knowing what your strengths and weaknesses are. Being arrogant is boasting about yourself, building yourself up, almost presenting yourself as a better person than you may be. You know, it's all about how you appear to others. So that would be the difference. But I wouldn't worry about it. The thing with confidence is it's just a byproduct of liking who you are. Thing about being arrogant is shoving who you are in everybody's faces and demanding they appreciate it. So just avoid doing that. It boils down to just don't be a prick. And that's probably the easiest way to differentiate coming across as confident and being arrogant. Just don't be a prick, and you'll be perceived as more confident than arrogant. Good Boy says, what is the best place to bury a body? I'm going to steal this joke because I read it online, but it's if you bury somebody, hypothetically of course, but if you bury somebody and then plant an endangered species plant on top of them, then it's illegal for the plant to be dug up and the body won't be found. So there you go, top tip. Media Model says, hey Ducky, what's the stupidest thing you or your missus have done during a relationship? I don't have like a stupidest thing per se. Like, we've done some like stupid shit when we're like drunk and fooling around in bed. Not like stupid, just like, it was one of them things where you wake up the following morning, you're like, why the fuck did we think that was hot in a moment? You know, when you're filled with drink and you get drunk sex. Drunk sex is the best though. Oh, it's like my favourite. That's the bit I look forward to in a relationship the most, is drunk sex, because anything can happen. It's a great laugh. But yeah, sometimes you wake up and you're like, why did I suggest that? Or why did we do that? That was so strange. Sometimes you wake up and you can't even look him in the eye, you know? You're just like, don't fucking talk to me until tomorrow. But yeah, no, there's no one event that jumps out in mind, but definitely something along that lines. And lastly, we're going to jump over to Instagram. I know there's a lot of questions. I literally got hundreds. I'm skipping every like 4 or 5 questions. So if I didn't get your question, I'm sorry. I don't know whether to do these by name, because Instagrams are a lot more personal. So I'll just go by the first 3 letters. So I'll just say Yad. Yad asks me, hi Ducky, long time subscriber here, need advice. I'm talking to a girl I like and I'm sure she likes me back, but we recently found out we're cousins through marriage. What do we do? I'll tell you what I would do. I would stop dating them. that would be what I do in that situation, because, like, you know, there's no getting away from that then, like, you know. And if it's early stages then as well, there's no feelings getting hurt or whatever. Like, you know, you like somebody, but a lust is very different to a love. So yeah, no, I'd pump the brakes and I wouldn't pursue that any further. You know, there's over 3.5 billion women in the world, lad. You're not going to be shorting them. So yeah, I'd say just cut your losses and move on. Yeah. What a shit thing to find out if you're dating if you're meeting somebody and then you find out it's like, oh shit, you're like related to him through some fucking marriage or whatever else. It's a weird one. But yeah, no, I wouldn't pursue it personally. Right, we got one here from Anonymous. So we're just going to call you Tony. Why not? Why not? We'll stick with Tony. That's when you want to become anonymous, you become a Tony. I banged my best friend and we engaged in some BDSM and king stuff. Ooh, fair play to your lad. It was all 100% mutual and consensual. Okay, I don't like where this is going. But because we were drunk and both of us had little prior kink experience, she ended up having to go to the hospital. The fuck were you doing? Jesus Christ. How do you fucking put somebody in the hospital for BDSM? Like, I've dabbled. I'm not too shy to say that. I've dabbled, but there's very little, unless you're like really don't know what the fuck you're doing, that could put somebody in the hospital. You know, fuck's sake. She blocked me on everything because apparently her mother is forbidding her from speaking to me. Either tell me how I get over it or tell me what to do if you were me to get her back. See, without knowing the ins and outs, it's hard to say, like, you know, but if she's cutting ties with you and the mother's angry with you, yeah, I'd fucking cut that off and let that go. But now I'm just fucking curious of what you actually did, because this could be, you know, one of two things. You could have done something that was like, you know, oh no, because I heard a story before of a fella who was fingering a girl and he never cut his fingernails and he cut the inside of her. You know, because that kind of shit can happen. Like, you know, it's obviously not intended. But then, I don't know if that's what happened or you did something fucked up because you said you were drunk. It's like you're making excuses. So you could have easily have done something fucked up, something nasty, you know, and you could be an awful person. I don't know. I'm just kind of going on what you put it here. But I'd say if it was just mild and she's not wanting to talk to you, just respect that and just move on. If somebody doesn't put whether or not they like to put their name in here, I'm just going to assume that they don't. So I'll just say this is Sarah. Yeah, I'm just going to say it's Sarah because we got Tony and Sarah in the videos. Ducky, I figured you might have advice from a guy's perspective. I'm good for that, yeah. I am female, I gathered. So a bunch of my friends have been telling me that one of my co-workers is flirting or interested in me. For example, he wanted to go out drinking with just the two of us. I was the only one from work invited to his birthday. He randomly texts me, I am in town to hang out, even though I never once was. He keeps asking me from time to time. He occasionally makes me compliments. As to why I'm hesitant, while he is a co-worker and it would be awkward if he isn't interested and it's merely being nice, he also told me that he has a girlfriend. He never talks about her unless directly asked. Even on his birthday, I didn't see her. He introduced me to many different people, sister, boyfriend, etc., but not to her. I only knew she was there because I asked 3 days later, and even if I only knew she was there because I asked 3 days later, and even if he talks about her, he reacts dismissingly or flat out tells me that they're kind of on and off. Oh, so it's a tumultuous relationship. So I just asked him what the deal is, yeah? I do like him, she says at the end. Right, so the long and short of it is a co-worker's been very flirty towards you. Well, it's quite obvious from the story you're telling me. He's definitely interested. He's definitely pursuing you, Sarah. He wants that ass. That's not what I question. It's very, very obvious. From a fella's perspective, there you go. But he also has a girlfriend who he's not introduced you to, even though we were both in the same room, which is also very telling that he's a thing for you. Yeah. You know, he doesn't want those worlds to cross. So that's very telling as well. And he claims that him and his missus are on and off. So, because here's the thing, he could be telling the truth. It could be a very dodgy relationship where, you know, they're always fighting or whatever, and he's just looking for a place where the grass is greener and looking for a way out. It could very much be that, or it could be a case of where it's a serious relationship and he wants to test the waters with you to see if you're better before he leaves her, you know, that kind of way. Because I'd be just like, if things are not going well with her, why didn't he just break up with her? You know, is he just one of these lads that's terrified of being single? And, you know, that's not a particularly attractive trait in somebody who can't stand on their own 2 feet. But I will say, if you're interested in him, I'd lay your cards out. To be honest, it's a very low risk. He's clearly interested. It's like, you know, that's very obvious. So I'd say lay your cards out and just tell him, yeah, what's the story with your missus there? Because you probably don't want to be, you know, a kind of a pump and dump scheme for him there. You don't want to be just rode and fucked off or whatnot. As far as like riding co-workers, it's never going to work out, but I've also said, like, you know, jobs are never always going to work out, so you may not always be working with them. Personally, myself, if I knew I was going to be in a job for a few years and I was single, I wouldn't get off with a co-worker, just because I don't want to be dealing with the shite that comes along with that. Because like any new relationship, it's going to be strong chance that it would fail, and then it's just awkward, and then you're just standing behind somebody or standing beside somebody in work, look at them going, I know what you look like naked. You know, it's a bizarre experience. But yeah, no, lay your cards out and see what the story is. That's my opinion. Just see where he stands with his missus. But he's definitely interested. I think that's obvious for everybody who's listening. Josh says, Ducky, over the years, have you or your mates ever had any business ideas that, looking back, now seem funny? Yeah, loads, but we're all joking. It was all hyperbole and having a laugh with the lads. One comes to mind, and it's probably the funniest one ever, and I can't even claim ownership of this because it was PJ. He had this product idea called Horn Away, and it was an aerosol spray you'd spray on your erection to get rid of it. So, you know, you can cover it up at a funeral or a wedding or whatever. you know, horn away. Send that horn away. But yeah, he used to bring this up, and we used to all just, you know, joke surf and just make it more bizarre. But looking back, it's fucking hilarious. The shit we used to talk. I miss it. It was good laugh. Horn Away, I think another one he came up with, like, he's a fucking genius. This is why this man needs to get back to YouTube, because he's just fucking hilarious. But the other one, and I've used it as a background gag in one of my videos before, because it's one that's always stuck to me, is Tossy Tissues. Tissues like Kleenex, but they're just called Tossy Tissues. And the advert for them would be, you'd think it'd be wanking, but it's actually just throwing the tissue at people. It's like, Tossy Tissues, toss them at your mother, toss them at your father, toss them at your dog. It just cuts away to people getting hit in the face with a balled up tissue. Tossy Tissues. I don't know why it's just so stupid, but it's fucking brilliant as well. But yeah, we joked a lot about fake inventions. It was great. Got one from Dylan. Says, hi Ducky, I'm still in secondary school and I'm constantly worried about ending up single for most of my life, because I'm getting closer to the end of secondary school and I'm about to go into 5th year. Should I be worried about this or not? Because I see my friends all getting into relationships. Also, if this goes onto the podcast, because you just used my first eye, that's fair enough. Yeah. So worried about being single. You're only going to 5th year, lad. I wouldn't worry. Yeah, everyone gets into relationships around you in school. But they're all as stable as a fucking crisp. They're all going to fall through and fail, and they'll just hop from one person to the next and whatnot. They're not relationships. That's just, that's like the tutorial level of a game, lad. I wouldn't take any of those relationships serious at all. And me, I didn't have my first, what I call first adultish relationship until I was 17. So I would have left schoolish, or would have been around the end of 6th year or something like that, before I had a proper one. Like, I was with a girl called Zoe, but that's kind of like early teenage relationship where, like, they don't hit like they do as you're older. So I never really counted that as like a proper relationship. But yeah, no, I wouldn't worry about any of that shit, lad. You've plenty of time for that. To be honest, you're going to do most of your relationship in your early to mid 20s. You know, so that's way ahead of you yet. So yeah, I wouldn't be stressing about it right now. Aidan says, I need advice on how to make my parents happy, because I'm a right fucking failure. You don't. No child ever realistically makes their fucking parents happy unless they're like, you know, one of these Chinese doctors, you know, those oppressive Chinese parents that are like, you know, fucking really come down on their children. But most children at least, or teenagers and even early 20s, are disappointments to their parents. It's only when they really become an adult their parents stop actually trying to judge them that way. But don't stop trying to please your parents. Try please yourself and fix your own life. That's what you should be focusing on. Shouldn't be worrying about what your parents might think of what you're getting up to. Like, God knows how fucking stupid and bizarre my mother found me when I started my YouTube channel. She found that strange. She couldn't understand it. She's like, what the fuck are you doing? You're just sitting in front of a fucking computer all day. You're doing that anyway, like, you know, this kind of shit. But yeah, they don't understand. But yeah, no, just please yourself. That's all you gotta do. Joshua says, got dumped recently. Feeling about lost, Mr. Ducky. Any advice on how to get over a breakup? Yeah, surround yourself with good mates that will, you know, kind of make you laugh and drag you out of it. Especially if their mates have been down that road before. They can be very helpful. You know, they prop you up. They kind of know what you need and know what you're feeling. And they know that there's nothing they can do to stop you thinking about it, because you're going to be thinking about it flat out for the next few weeks before it eventually becomes, you know, every few hours, or, you know, and it'll progressively get easier and easier. What I did is surround myself with good mates, go out drinking with them, you know, kind of reconnect with friends. I may have drifted apart from a small bit from being in a relationship, because when you're young, you kind of immerse yourself in the relationship you're in. You kind of, you do neglect friends. So you kind of want to go back and maybe owe them an apology or two, but go back and you reconnect with friends. That's always good. What I also did was I took up playing guitar when I got through my first really, really, really bad breakup. I started taking up guitar. I haven't played it in years now, but it was one of those things that kind of occupied my time. I got a hobby and it made me feel good about myself when I learned the song and stuff. So yeah, it's all about building yourself back up. So good friends and maybe like a creative hobby or something that would make you feel somewhat accomplished at the end of it if you have little victories in it. So yeah, hope that helps. Jack says, have you ever considered doing stand-up comedy? I don't think I have the ability to do stand-up comedy. God, if you could hear my audio takes from videos, like my videos are 6 minutes long, the take from that session is like 42 minutes long. How many times I fuck up lines and trip over my own words and stuff like that. I don't think I have the vocal capacity. There's that, and I don't think I'd particularly good at standing up in front of a crowd. I don't think I'd be able to relax. You know, I just don't think it's for me. I'm quite happy with what I'm doing now. And I think maybe one day, my future plans realistically, if I have enough disposable income in the future, set aside a few pound and start making films if I can. I'd love to direct movies. Maybe even star in them myself. Who knows? Who knows what the future might hold? But directing movies is something I'd love to do. Stand-up would kind of, and the way the world is going, stand-up it's not the only way to be a comedian nowadays. You know, there's so many more options. I suppose that's really what I'm getting at. And I think the path I've chosen. I like the path I've chosen. I like having illustrations to. It's difficult, but I like having illustrations to enhance my points and my comedy and stuff in my videos. It works really well, and I think if I was to just use my video script on a stage, it wouldn't land as well without the help of the scenes I set in the video. So yeah, I never really considered it seriously, no. Right, I think we'll break these questions up here, because you know what time it is, lads? It's time for Quack Me Up Corner.
Quack, 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 quack me up. Quack, 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 quack me up. Get your ducks in order. It's time for Quack Me Up Corner.
Right, I've got 2 jokes for you today, lads, so here we go. 3 pregnant women visit a hospital to check the gender of their babies. So while chatting in the waiting room, one lady said she's sure hers is a boy because she was on the bottom during sex. The second one went ahead and said that she's sure that hers is a girl because she was on top while they were having sex. And the third one, who was a blonde, remarks, "I can't wait to see my puppies, boy oh boy." You know, who doesn't like a good blonde joke? It's been a while since I heard one of them. Right, and here's another one for you. An elderly couple was sitting in a church, and the lady turns towards her husband and says, "I just left out a really long silent fart. What should I do?" And the man smiled and said to her, "Love, you need to change the battery on your hearing aid." That's good, I enjoyed that one. So there you go. I hope you enjoyed Quack Me Up Corner. I'm going to jump back and I'm going to answer 1 or 2 more questions, and then we'll call it quits, because this has been a long solo one. It kind of turned into an extended Q&A, so I do apologise for those of you who don't enjoy that, but hey, fuck it, if it's... A podcast is just background noise, and you're probably fucking doing something else while you're listening to this anyway, so it doesn't really matter. But yeah, we'll answer a couple more questions and we'll call it quits. So let's see what we can find. Connor says, "Well, Ducky boss, typing this as I'm sat in Jerry the Bear's old art classroom. Ever going to make any more school videos?" Jerry the Bear, yes, me old teacher there from the school videos. Art room 2, is it? No, 1. Whatever one is close to the front door. I can't remember what it was. Some man. Old Cashel Community School there. Fair play to you, lad. I'm not planning on right now to do a school video. I only really commit to doing a particular video when I have enough material to go on. And right now I don't have any kind of tidbits for a part 3 yet. Obviously that changes over time. Stuff pops into my head and I write it down, and eventually I have enough there to kind of go, okay, I can justify making another video now for it. But yeah, right now that it's kind of blank. So the problem is my memory's fairly fucking shit from school as well. Like, it's a lot of just being in my own world. Witnessed a couple of fights. Maybe that could work as a bit of material, but again, it wouldn't be enough for a whole video. But who knows, in the future I might. Oh, what I will do, well, I've just remembered, somebody asked this, and I've forgotten, I skimmed through it the other day, but somebody asked this, they asked me if there was an update on the white dog that was jumped into my yard the other day, or the other day, the last podcast was a couple of months back. Yeah, no, it jumped into the garden again, did it again, and but this time it was me and the missus were in the house at the same time, and the missus, she just saw fucking red. She basically grabbed me by the hand. She's like, "Come on, we're sorting this out now." And I was like, "Oh Jesus, she's going to drag me into a fucking row here now. We'll go to the house," to which the dog is owed to the door will open, and he's either a big muscle bound bastard now that'll just boot the fuck out of me in front of her, or fuck it, he could be a very handsome man, and then she'll just end up fucking him right on top of my face. Who knows? Like, you know, you're always thinking the worst of these kind of things. But she dragged me up the road. We followed the dog up the road and ran into a house that we suspected might be the owners of it. So we went in, knocked on the door, and a girl answered, and we basically just explained to her, say, "Yeah, we just moved in, your dog came down to the yard." I was like, "Look, we've no problem with dogs or anything like that. It's just our dog is not dog friendly, and he jumped a wall. Our dog is not tall enough to jump our wall to get out of the garden, but you're I think it was a lurcher or something like that, or I forget the breed. The missus knows the breed, but it's able to clean the fucking wall. It's able to jump into the garden, but because the garden, our garden is like lower than the other side of the wall, so when it jumps in, it can't jump back out because the wall is higher on our side. So we explained that to her, and she was understanding. She was like, yeah, sorry about all that, and that was fine. And I've only seen the dog once since then, and it didn't wander down towards the house. It just kind of spotted me, and then it ran back into its own house, and that was it. That was the last I've seen of it. So they've obviously fenced it in or something. So yeah, all's well that ends well. So yeah, it worked out in the end. Joe's says, how do you reject women without sounding like an arsehole? You can't. You can just soften it as much as you can, but rejection is rejection, lad. You can't stop it being rejection. Rejection hurts regardless. So you can just soften it as much as you can. You could just be straight up, flat out, but honest with them. It's just like, look, you're not really my type. You're a lovely person or whatever, but you're not what I'm looking for. You know, don't put it on them. That would probably be the one thing I say. Don't put it on them. Don't say it's one of their flaws. Just maybe say one of their characteristics is not something you're looking for, but it's nice or endearing to other lads. I don't know. You know, just be nice about it. But ultimately, rejection is rejection. You can't make it not hurt. So you just have to kind of lessen the pain as much as you can. Right, and we'll call this the last question, because this podcast is, I don't know, it's going on way too long. This is probably the longest solo podcast I've done. Yeah, so I'll call this the last question. This one is from Edgy. She says, how do I tell my... At least I think it's a she. I'm presuming. I'll just say it's a she and we'll take it from there. But how do I tell my boyfriend he's addicted to weed without saying it directly, as he doesn't think he is, even though he's between 2 and 4 joints a day? I'm just concerned for his long-term health, as he already has a number of illnesses and says the weed helps with his symptoms, but I think he's just making up excuses to avoid the truth. I'm not a big weed smoker myself. I'm on the record. Weed makes me feel incredibly stupid, and I don't like not being able to call upon smart thoughts at any given time. I just feel like an idiot when I'm on it. It's an unpleasant feeling for me. So I don't tend to... Sorry, fix my mic. I don't tend to smoke weed all that often. But I wouldn't be a wet blanket either. You know, if I was at a house party with the boys and they're passing around, I may partake. But it's a rare occasion. Does weed have like long-term side effects? I'm sorry here now, Edgy. I might have to take his side on this, because I don't, like, you can't overdose from weed. I know that much. I think you'd have to consume about 4 tons, I believe, something like that. Maybe misremembering, but it's a ridiculous number to overdose on weed. I know smoking is not particularly good for you, but it's a hell of a lot less bad for you than cigarettes, and you know, most people are not bothered by cigarettes. And if he has illnesses, like it's been known weed does help with particular illnesses, like I know, like glaucoma, but a handful of others, like, and a lot of it has yet to be tested, but it's known to make people feel better about it. So I suppose the real question I'm going to ask, and you're probably not going to like it, is, does he have a problem with smoking weed, or do you have a problem with him smoking weed? Because, like, really it boils down to... I'd only call it a problem because, like, you know, at the end of the day, it's his health. Let him be concerned about it. You know, that's something for him to worry about, not you. You can be concerned to a degree, but ultimately it's his body. Let him do what he wants, especially if he's not harming anybody else. I'd only consider it a problem if it's getting in the way of things that he should or would or could be doing, you know, that kind of way, in the same way like alcohol or whatnot. Like, if you can't be trusted to be sober for particular events, I'd call that a problem. You know, if it's getting in the way of day-to-day life, yeah, then maybe it's a problem. It's probably worth sitting down and talking to him. But if he's smoking weed when he's not due to be anywhere or do anything, and he's not harming anybody, I don't see it being a problem, to be honest. I'm going to get a bit controversial here at the end, but I've experienced with this. I've been with girls in the past where they kind of turn into a little bit of a mammy figure, and it's very off-putting, I find, in a relationship where they try to kind of dictate what you can and can't do as a man. And, you know, as a fiercely independent lad, and my general disdain towards authority, I absolutely fight back against that completely. And I've been with girls that have done that. They've tried to, like, tell me what I can and can't do, and I absolutely despise that, because at the end of the day, if you're in a relationship with somebody, you're 2 independent people. You don't have the authority over anybody, and the only thing they're obliged to do is occasionally make you happy and not fuck anybody else. That's the long and short of it. Anything outside that, what they get up in their own time, as long as it's not hurting anybody or it's terribly, terribly bad, then you just kind of have to get over it, you know, take it on the chin, because that's just how he is. It's one of the reasons why I love my missus. She doesn't tell me what to do. She accepts me for the strong, independent woman that I am. She doesn't really dictate what I can and can't do whatsoever, and it works, you know. I do the same for her. I don't tell her how to behave, what to dress, and any of that. You know, we're just two people that like each other's company, and that's where it starts and ends. I don't have authority over, nor does she have authority over me. And I think if he's not hurting anybody, I think you should maybe take a step back and wonder if it's him that has a problem, or is it you that has a problem with it. You might just have a bit of a bias towards weed. Maybe you see it as a lazy thing, because I know it has that kind of stigma attached to it. It's like a lazy stoner or not doing anything with their lives. So maybe there's a little bit of that in there, a bit of personal bias. But yeah, maybe take a step back and see if it's your own bias. And if it's not, if it's a genuine problem, talk to them about it. But anyway, lads, I'm going to leave this one here. It's gone on very long, but I had fun. I hope you did too. I wanted a nice longer one. When I came back, even though it was essentially an extended Q&A, but fuck it, has to be done every now and again when I'm inundated with hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of questions. But yeah, it had to be done. So I hope you enjoyed this. I hope I've helped you pass an hour or two of your life there in relative comfort. Thanks for tuning in, and I will catch you, lads and ladies, in the next one.